My sophomore year was a roller coaster ride, as they call it. Of course, it started out great. COVID was dying down, and I was excited to start a new year. I had everything planned out in my mind. Join a gazillion lunch clubs, finish the SATs, get a 5 on my first AP test, maintain high GPA. It all came crashing down halfway into the year. I was burnt out from constantly juggling both academics and extracurriculars. My Instagram algorithm was definitely not helping either, because this was what it showed me, especially when my mom was not exactly pleased with my grades. The post still haunts me to this day. As scary as my mom could be, I didn't want to find a new home, or a family either. I really hope she's not listening to the live stream right now, because if she is, I might not even have a home to return to after this event. My motivation spike is a seasonal illness. It happens every year, and just like the last, it often ends up with me feeling frustrated at myself for not living up to my mountain of expectations. Unfortunately, this special flu does not come with a cure nor a vaccine. Naturally, 10th grade Anna Young forgot about everything that happened to 9th grade Anna, and that year was not an exception. I knew that the cycle had to come to an end, which was why I made the decision to start building my resilience. The definition given for the word resilience by the American Psychological Association is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to challenging or difficult life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioral flexibility and adjustment to both external and internal demands. Our bodies and brains are extremely vulnerable, yet resilient to stress at the same time. This can be observed by studying neuroplasticity, how our brains respond to stimuli by growing neural pathways, highways that connect your brain cells called neurons to one another to allow faster communication. Repetitive use of these newly formed pathways can strengthen them even more, quite similar to how you can get more buff depending on how much effort you put into your daily workouts. There's a reason I'm not jacked like this kangaroo over here, all right? There are two main types of neuroplasticity. One, functional plasticity, which is when the brain relocates its functions to different parts in response to damage in specific areas. This is observed in the diagram above, where the brain region responsible for language processing is seen to be slowly taking over the damaged area, which was originally responsible for managing vision. Structural plasticity, on the other hand, is when the brain's shape itself is altered due to stimuli. This is something everyone experiences during childhood, as your brain constantly gets bigger as you grow up and learn new things. In many ways, our minds are similar in that some individuals are capable of bouncing back from adverse or even traumatic experiences through their strong will alone. Oftentimes, when things go downhill, the brief moment of relief you get from giving things up may be tempting, and there's no denying that. Back in the 1960s, two guys named Martin Seligman and Stephen Meyer conducted a series of experiments on a similar concept called learned helplessness, which happens when someone feels unable to change their situation, usually due to past experiences of failure or lack of control. Basically, what they did in their study was they set up this machine, which administered random electrical shocks to the animal inside, which caused some to eventually give up making any attempts to escape, even when the opportunities to were presented later on. While there are no electrical shockers in everyday life, the concept of learned helplessness can still be applied, as fear of failure is what demotivates us and drives us to give things up. If so, what can we do to be resilient? Believe it or not, this is possible for anyone with a growth mindset. I'm sure most of you here might have heard of this during advisory, and you might have thought it was cheap stuff. To be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention either when I was first learning about it, at least not until I realized that this would be my cure to my annual motivation spikes. The term was first coined by Stanford professor Carol Dweck. Not familiar? Me neither. Apparently, she and her colleagues observed how some of her students were able to bounce back from challenges like they're nothing, while others were left discouraged by the smallest of setbacks. Together, they studied the behavior of over 1,000 children to discover the terms fixed and growth mindset. In her book, Dick writes, "The passion for stretching yourself and sticking to it, even or especially when things are not going well, is the hallmark of having a growth mindset. This is the mindset that allows some people to thrive during some of the most challenging times in their lives." I'm sure most of you here might have come across inspirational quotes in books titled A Billionaire's Guide to Success or, 10 Tips to Living a Happier Life that say, believe in yourself and learn from your mistakes. And while this may be true, I personally am guilty of once believing that reading these books would provide me with an epiphany or an answer to all my problems. I mean, if that were the case, I'd be a billionaire by now. I'd be in my own island, enjoying a full course meal in my own mansion. I'd be living my dreams. The truth is, there's no such thing as a perfect guide to practically anything. By applying these lessons to my life, I realized that I might have been looking at things the wrong way back then. I also intend on proving myself to others that I didn't consider making any attempts on improving myself. In a way, me being burnt out might have been the outcome of stretching myself too far, that it caused an unexpected backlash, quite similar to how a rubber band snaps back at you with greater force the further you stretch it. Anyhow, what you're reading in those books are stories of someone else's success, not yours. This doesn't mean that simply having a growth mindset is your sole key to living a happier life either. Your future is entirely up to you, and now that you know of its basic ingredients, it's up to you to experiment with it and discover your own recipe for success. Thank you.